following whatever he said. And everybody talked about we must have unconditional love for God or saints. And we should always behave in a surrendering way. Oh God, it is thy will, I will do whatever. So finally I could know what's the sense in that. I must be selfish. If my desire is fulfilled, then and only then I will love God. I will love these saints, otherwise I am not going to regard them anymore. And luckily, since my childhood I have been with saints, my all desires were fulfilled by using unfair tactics also.
Can you give us an example of one of those tactics?
There'll be a separate initiation charge for this.
Unfair tactics.
You know, in India, especially in our family, we invited our elders to teach them so that they might become angry on us. And it is a thing that somebody scolds us, it means he is close to us. Otherwise an outsider cannot scold. When these people come, they scold and they go to the kitchen and this. So that brings a love, what we call. And it's hard to explain here actually what love is. You can find this kind of love in our families in India. So when anybody gets angry, especially our elders, then we feel how happy, how lucky we are that they are feeling so close. So that kind of play I used to play with Maharaj-ji. How come that bowl? Okay. It was winter time and brazier. What you have to explain the brazier?
The charcoal brazier with to give off heat. They take some charcoal.
And a small tin.
Yeah, it's like a aluminum.
Not heater. Not heater. It is just like a small pot.
Yeah, it's just a little container for wood chips and stuff.
And charcoal is burnt in that. And Maharaj-ji was sitting on the tucket. And I was sitting in front of him. And I had brought some vegetables in bowl. So I had put that bowl on the fire. And one side was quite hot, which was towards the fire side, and other was quite cold. And Maharaj-ji said, what vegetable has been sent for you? I said, taste it. And I turned the bowl hot side towards him. Then he picked it and his house. Fingers were burned. Oh, you badmaas, like that.
Badmaas is one of those words we loosely translated, you wicked son of a bitch.
Actually, people interpret badmaas word in a different way. But Maharaj-ji used to this badmaas word only very affectionately. Even our parents and mother, especially mother, she will always say, my badmaas child. So there is so much affection in this particular word. So, and now Siddhi Ma came to that room where I was sitting with Maharaj-ji, and Siddhi Ma came, Maharaj, and he was doing like this, Maharaj-ji. She asked, Maharaj-ji, what has happened? He said, this guy has burnt my finger. I said, no, it's not cold, just see. I asked Siddhi Ma. And in the meantime, I turned the bowl, the cold side towards, and Siddhi Ma came and he picked it. I said, no, Maharaj, it is not hot. You idiot, you are favoring him. He started very abusingly. You are favoring him. You see, it is hot. So everybody knew about the game, everything, but it was just such a loving play or loving dialogue or loving drama between Maharaj-ji and me.
we used to be waiting for the secret teaching. You know, we were just missing it. It was too simple. It was right in front of our eyes all the time. This affectionate play, this flow of love, this sweet playfulness all the time. You know, that being drawn into that, allowing ourselves to enter into that space. That was the whole thing. You know, there wasn't any other teaching that was going to be given.
That's why sometimes I feel that all these people are so fortunate. They could get from Maharaj-ji so much that many Indians couldn't get due to their openness of heart. Otherwise Maharaj-ji would never, as he said, he would never encourage anybody. And many times I have seen some of the devotees who were not behaving properly, they were thrown out.
Now, for those of you who don't know, KK met Maharaj-ji when he was 6 or 7 years old. And that's a beautiful story. Why don't you tell that? That's great.
Which, again, I will have to, my stories begin to let people know first what the traditions we have got. When I was a young child, I used to hear stories from our elders that the saints do not come to the town, they do not visit family houses like that. So it was 1940 like that. So one day Maharaj-ji had come to our neighborhood house, and my father deputed my cousin who was quite elder than me, and I was taken by him to Maharaj-ji. And Maharaj-ji was lying on a cot, and I went, I said pranam. I didn't know much about saints at that time. So I was sitting and I asked my nephew, I have heard that saints do not come to house, but why he is here? And Maharaj-ji was very clever in that way. He was listening and he asked my nephew, what is he saying? And he was a bit embarrassed. And Maharaj-ji, again, tell me. He said, Maharaj-ji is saying that saints are not supposed to come to house, family house, so why you are here? He got up immediately and straight came to my house. And there it was my father's first meeting with Maharaj-ji. And Abbas, his first meeting, and then the devotion for Maharaj-ji started right from that day. So his way of teaching, I could get the answer from Maharaj-ji without he could say anything why I visit houses. You just by visiting him, just to be with him, sitting in front of him, a man's whole outlook was changed. Even he would never look at you or speak with you like that. And then I heard that another nephew told my father about Harakhan Maharaj.
Yeah, KK's father had been a devotee of another great saint named Harakhan Maharaj who had left the body previously.
No, he never left his body.
Well, he disappeared.
Disappeared in Ascot, yeah.
Yeah, he disappeared. Yeah.
So
that's a whole story.
Maharaj-ji, Harakhan Baba had given some mantra to my father, and he never told it even to my mother. So the first thing when Maharaj-ji came to my house, he asked my father, where is that cot on which Harakhan lied down? And my father was a bit surprised, how could he know? And he showed that cot. And then he said, he gave some mantra to you. Do you still repeat it? Oh, just Maharaj, these words, he became totally off. And always, since then he was with Nimgoldi Maharaj-ji also. So I tell everybody that don't look what they do practically. They do nothing, just by their behavior, by their talking, by their way of behaving, you can get everything.
KK was also, in those early days, early times when we were there, we were just starting to know about kirtan and know about some of the prayers that we were introduced, of course, to Hanuman. And so in the very beginning, Krishna Das and another devotee, some of you know Rameshwar Das, started, found a pamphlet, right? We found a little pamphlet.
Well, we went to the temple every day and they gave us that little yellow pamphlet with Hanuman on it, with a monkey on the cover, a flying monkey. After I had 100 of them in my room. And then one day I said to the Pujari, it looks like this. I had 100 of them in my hotel room where we were staying. And so one day when they gave me another, the 101st one, I said, well, what is this? And they said, oh, it's a prayer to Hanuman. So I thought, well, we knew that Maharaj-ji secretly wanted to spend more time with the customers. But he was having difficulty arranging that. So I thought that if we learned this prayer, we would sing it to him, and then that would give him a good excuse to call us and spend more time with us. And so in order to make him happy, we started to learn the prayer. And we had to learn the Hindi alphabet first, then we went through it syllable by syllable and transliterated. And KK helped us with the pronunciation, and another guy helped us, and it took us about 6 months to really to kind of, and we were reading it in English transliteration. We had written it in our notebooks. And we decided Tuesday is Hanuman's day, so we decided that this next Tuesday we would sing the Chalisa to the Maharaj-ji. We would do puja. We ordered 80 pounds of laddus, 80 kilos of laddus to be delivered to the temple on Tuesday. So on Monday, we were sitting outside waiting for him to come out, and the doors burst open, and he comes out and sits down and says, Hanuman Chalisa, now! We had a fight. We ran to get our notebooks, and we were singing it like, literally, I don't think any Indian person could actually understand what we were singing. And so in fact, after a few verses, he said something to me. He tried to correct one word that I was saying, and I just looked at him. My mind went completely blank. I just went. He said, "Okay, just sing, just sing, just sing." And he never corrected anybody again. So, yeah.
And
it was
then,
really his gift to us. The Chalisa was his gift to us, and he was providing us with a whole path, a whole way of entering into that space. And through learning the Chalisa, we learned more about Hanuman, we learned more about Ram, we learned more about devotion. It just brought so many things. Siddhi Ma teases me all the time. She goes, "Why you? Why are you the one who goes around the whole world singing? What makes you so good? Huh? Why you? Why you?" And I said, "Ma, you know, we both know it's all his doing." And she said, "Yes." And then one time she said to Nina, I think she said, "Look what he got from the Hanuman Chalisa." So.
and look how many people in America or in the West know it. I mean, it's phenomenal. But the other thing, of course, KK helped us with all of that and understanding it, and he was our day-to-day go-to person. And
Night and day.
Night and day.
He doesn't wake up till about 3 in the afternoon. semi-conscious, and then he wakes up after midnight. You can really talk to him.
I just told him this story the other day that I had never told him before. KK used to teach us arti, which we do here. And, we gathered together in one of the hotel rooms at the Evelyn Hotel. And he'd come over around 6 o'clock or something and teach us arti. And we'd all gather in the room. So one day we had just come back from Kenchi and being with Maharaj-ji for the day, and then I decided to go boating on the lake. Boating with Parvati, who became my first wife, and we smoked a joint after being with Maharaj-ji all day. And that was our boating. And then we came into the room with KK and started the RT practice. KK sang Jai Jagadi, I mean, he got maybe 3 words in, and my whole body just started shaking uncontrollably with obviously energies, Kundalini or whatever it was. I didn't know what it was, but I was just embarrassed, and I was like holding on for dear life to this energy, and finally it became unbearable. So I left the room, and Ramdas, who was staying next door to me, I called him over, and he came and he held my hand. And this energy left, and I was really out of it for about a week. But we had never heard the kind of devotion in a person, an expression of, or bhav, before this. And KK really gave us that. I mean, it was extraordinarily special. And that was elemental alongside of everything else that he provided us at the time. Family and love, and I mean, food. I mean, we'd go to his house, we'd be fed.
Fed isn't the word.
We'd be made sick, is what we're saying.
He and his sister Bina, they had a real act together, you see. First they would feed you the first course was as much as you could eat. That was the first course. And then the second course was more than you could even imagine that you could eat. And then the third course, what would happen is you would be guarding your plate like this when you come by with the bowl. And he would call you from the other side of the room, and you look, and from the other side of the room, Bina would like throw it, fling a chapati like a, what is those things?
Frisbee.
Huh?
Frisbee.
Yeah, like a frisbee, right in your plate, you know. And you had to eat it. If it was in your plate, you had to eat it. So then we learned the secret teaching about food is, and there's even a shloka, I think, somewhere, that you feed someone until they roar like a lion at you, you know, and that's when you know they've really had enough. You get so angry, you forget all propriety. You just say, enough, goddamn! And then they go, anyway, we fed you too.
To this day, this is still going on. I have to make a deal when I go, nowadays, when I go to India, it's called cake, okay. I'm bringing a bunch of people. For me, you just make me a little kedgeree like we had earlier. I'll just have a little kedgeree, and don't worry, you make a full-blown meal. These people, they'll all eat it, and you can make them sick, but not me. He goes, okay, no
We
problem.
are following blindly. I have told my sister and Bhavi that they never insist you and he. We are very particular about you.
Very particular.
Yes.
After we were ruined by those chili that you gave me.
Maharaj used to say, he said, feed them until they get sick, and then call the doctor.
It used to be so. I would like to describe how beautiful it used to be. During daytime, we would go to Kenchi, and in the night, mostly in the hotel room, we would sit around that dinner table, and then we would share the day's experiences with Maharaj-ji. Till late in the night. so beautiful.
And the hotel was just like the family's living room. It wasn't a real, I mean, it was a real hotel, but it was run by his cousins. And so it was just like the living room of the family. There was, all the Westerners stayed there. There wasn't any room for anybody else. And it was amazing.
It was something, they were not like tourists or guests in that hotel. That was a Maharaj-ji satsang about Nainital High.
Yeah, Nainital High, the picture of all of us.
So, and sometime I remember there was one lady, Naima or someone, somewhere invited by a devotee of Maharaj-ji for dinner. And they went to ask Maharaj-ji, should we go? Maharaj said, no, you need not go to any house. Go to ML or mine. Then it was, used to be so beautiful that cannot be described in words. And it was not so cozy like that. Everybody would sit on the ground and the pattas and like that. So it has its own beauty, its own charm, and its own taste, and with love. And one day it was, and in Nainital area, I know it is sometimes very, it was a somewhat a backward town. So sometimes
it was backwards town. It was even there's only one road that goes to the mountains there,
Yeah.
from the plains, and then it goes off like this. And Nainital's at the end of one of these roads in a way, and it was hidden. It was hidden from the English by the local people because it was a sacred place. And finally, one of the English governors or something put a stone on the servant's head, the Indian servant's head, and said, if you take that stone off before you lead me to Nainital, I'm going to shoot you. So the guy he walked up into the mountains and led, and then the English made it their summer capital.
So one day Maharaj-ji, it was at about quite late at Kenchi. Veena was there, everybody was there, and
But
Maharaj-ji,
his sister.
yes, he said, take them to your house and feed them. And everybody was upset because after 4 or 5 it was not possible to bring, purchase vegetables sometimes. So we were worried about all that. We came to Nainital. And before coming, he said, what are you doing? You going to feed them? I said, Maharaj-ji, puri, this rice, dal. No, not every day rice, dal. What does that mean? Today you should prepare kheer for them. And that we were quite worried about that. And it was totally impossible to get milk at that odd hour, especially in Nainital. So Veena had to run away to Nainital, and then but it was so, everything was available in the market. And we had nice bhandara, semi bhandara. So Maharaj's ways, the only thing I want to tell you that whatever he wanted to be done, it would take place. You need not, people had not that faith, but they forgot that whenever Maharaj-ji used to say anything, it will happen. These temples that nobody had ever expected, temples at Kakri Ghat, Kenchi, Hanuman Gardens, it was all barren places. But in India we call it, in epics, sadhu ki ichha se sab kaam ho jata. It is just, if a sadhu, siddha, wishes something, that things happen. And these are the examples. Kenchi was just, you cannot imagine what it was. There were snakes, leeches, scorpions, all muddy, no place to stand. Today you can see how beautiful it is. And nobody knows how the money came, how it was constructed. So here people ask about miracle. So what more miracle can be seen from these saints?
Well, since KK is captured here, if anybody wants to ask him any question, now's a good time, maybe.
was curious about Maharaj-ji's connection to smallpox.
Smallpox, the story about Maharaj-ji sending Dr. Larry.
Oh yeah, that is in the book. I do not know much about, but
You know,
can take.
he means it, he doesn't know much. Maharaj-ji had, I don't know how to explain it, he had so many different dramas going on at the same time that nobody else would know about. You could be sitting next to the person who was the president of India and not know that. So the whole drama with smallpox is in Larry's book called Sometimes Brilliant.
Great book, everybody.
It's a great book. And he sent, Larry was a doctor, but he was a hippie doctor. And one day he just tells Larry to go down to Delhi, which is like a 12-hour bus ride, and work for the United Nations Health Organization. So Larry gets in the bus and goes down there. He's got long hair and a beard, and he's wearing hippie clothes, you know. And they just look at him and said, sorry. So he goes back, and he said, no work, Acha, go back. So he went back again. I think he went back 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times. And every time he went back, he would look, he'd change his clothes, he clipped his beard, he cut his hair. Every time it was different. Finally he looked, you know, acceptable. And then he was accepted to work there, and that led to the eradication of smallpox in India. Maharaj-ji said, smallpox will be eradicated in India due to the dedicated work of the doctors and stuff like that. But it was his blessing. You see, smallpox is, you know about Kali being a wrathful form of the goddess. Smallpox is actually considered to be a form of the goddess Kali, called Shitali Devi. And there's temples to her. And in many places, especially in the backwards places, so-called backwards places, in the hills or in villages, they worship her. And so they would not want to eradicate smallpox, feeling that it's actually a form of the goddess doing her work of destruction. So they would come to a village, and they would meet with the headman of the village, and they would say, we want to inoculate everybody. And he'd say, no, you can't do that. So they would leave, and they would come back in the middle of the night. They would raid the village. They would hold down the headman and inoculate him. And then he would get up and say, well, it must be the will of the goddess. Now everybody can be inoculated. And that's how they went village to village. And 350,000 children died every year from smallpox. Every year. 350,000 in India. And at the same time this was happening in India, it was happening in Africa too. And by the end of the 70s, there was no more smallpox.
Totally eradicated.
It only exists in labs now as in little vials as protection in case there's some outbreak somewhere. That's the only virus available.
And it was quite a difficult job for Dr. Larry. In the villages, he was opposed by the elders. We need not want this kind of smallpox vaccination. Everybody opposed. So Dr. Larry would take some sweets, candies to the children, and he would give them from his own pocket. And thus he encouraged all these people. He did a lot, but it was all through Maharaj's grace. And today, total eradication of smallpox, and then this Nepal, that
Yeah, now they're doing, he started a foundation called Seva Foundation, which now is doing cataract operations on people and eradicating blindness.
When you were telling your story about wanting to go see Maharaj-ji, what year was it?
1822 it was the spring of 70 that we started to eradicate it. And we arrived in India the last week of August, 1970.
One thing to mention, actually, for those of you who don't know, KK wrote a book that was just published a few months ago. Hari. Deva Bhumi, Abode of the Gods in India. Deva Bhumi. And Hari, there is copies here you can get, and KK will sign them. Okay. But in it is two things. One is KK's story of growing up in the lap of the Siddhas, and he's described a little bit how they came to his father, and it's the whole story of his father, who was appointed by the British to be the police inspector who went and took care of this amazing zone where some of the most important holy spots in India, Badrinath, Kedarnath, Amarnath, and he would go up there, and months of going by horse. So amazing stories are in this book. The other thing that's in the book is probably the first time anybody has ever, and this took KK, 40 years, he's been collecting stories, and got Maharaj-ji's blessing to do so, about this other saint or Siddha named Sombari Baba, who left in early 20s, I think 1990 maybe. And KK has gotten first-hand descriptions of the experiences of these people. His father had Sombari Maharaj's darshan as well. So it's an incredible, and Maharaj-ji, we don't know how, I've asked KK and how Neem Karoli Baba is related somehow to Sombari Maharaj, because Kenchi is built on his cave, and another Kakriya Ghat down the road, about 45 minutes away, is also Maharaj-ji put in a temple there. So there's some obvious connection that we don't know what it is. But in this book, I just want you to tell one story, because it is so incredible a story. You already know what I'm going to ask, the fish story. So if you could tell that story from the book.
Which one?
The British and the fish. Yeah.
Actually, in our epics it has been clearly mentioned that any place, wherever any saint had, Siddha had ever stayed, even for 1 hour, a day will come that place will prosper. So when Sombari Maharaj stayed at Kakri Ghat, after his death, there was nobody to look after that. It was totally neglected. But there was some construction of the roads and this thing, and people in that village, they started moving from their village. They couldn't get any food to eat. But Maharaj-ji came, and the whole area was visited by so many hundreds and thousands of people, and the motor roads, so many hotels, and today you can see all the villages fully prosperous. The same thing, Kenshi, the Tiwari family, they didn't have food for night. Very, very poor condition. And today they are so rich only because the presence of these saints. So, and these places were hallowed by the presence of these Siddhas. And their way of teaching people was not just by teaching, do this, don't do this. You would just do it practically. At Kakri Ghat, I have, this is an eyewitness account. It was British time, and they were dominating the whole country. And
when did the British leave?
1947.
47.
So this, two Britishers came to Kakri Ghat area, and Sombari Maharaj-ji was sitting there with other devotees and Naga Babas, and they started fishing the whole day. And they were, high officials. They were provided with horses, and 3-4 Indian workmen, watermen, scavenger, like all the cook, who could tell them in Hindi what they wanted to know. So they started fishing in that river that was close by the seat, asana of Sambhari Baba. So from morn to eve they couldn't get a single fish. And they were so disgusted, they returned back to their room and they said it was for the first time in their life that they couldn't get any fish like that. And in the night they could get something very haunted things. Their cots were turned upside down like that.
What? They were
A kind of this
in their tents at night.
tent, yes.
They were thrown out of bed
Yes.
and their beds
So
were
they,
turned like
they
upside
couldn't
down.
sleep the whole night.
They couldn't sleep.
Then they called the Indian servants. What does that mean? He said, there is a Baba here and this place is prohibited and you did a mistake. But at one point what I feel that these people were quite considerate. They had much regard for other religions also. So they wanted to go to Sambhari Baba, and it is a tradition there that if somebody goes to meet any saint, he takes some food or flowers, whatever he can to offer before he pronounced to that saint. So his servants advised him to prepare big thalis, parat we call in India. This big, full of dry fruits, sweets, everything. These were very
Hard to get, expensive.
yeah. And at that time it was not possible to get them in Padampuri and Kakrighat. They sent that man to Almora, that horseman.
Uh-huh.
It was brought from Almora,
So the British people they wanted to
offer Maharaj.
offer to Sambhari Maharaj. They sent their servant way, like hours up the road to bring back these expensive fruits and things.
And then they sent a message to Maharaj-ji, can we come? He said, all right, you come and sit. And they offered that dry fruits and everything to Maharaj-ji. And he laughed, he said, go and feed the fish. And they took the whole things held by their servants, and then they were wearing half pants,
Really
And-
went.
half pants,
Shorts.
Shorts.
what we call half
Go in
pants.
the water. Yeah.
And
Half
they
pants.
went to the riverside and half like that in water. And they used to throw that sweets, they were very delicious for the fish, but they refused to eat. They would stand and they would smell and they would leave.
No, did you get the fish would come up and smell the sweets in the water and then they would swim away. They would not eat it.
Yeah. And it lasted for 3 hours, that person told me. And that English gentleman was very, very disappointed. Finally he came to Maharaj-ji. He said, Maharaj-ji, what can I do? I fed. And Maharaj-ji smiled beautifully. He said, there was a time Maharaj-ji never spoke English. There was an interpreter. He said, Maharaj-ji said that tell them that at present you are ruling this country. So all the human beings are under your rule. But there are creatures like birds, animals, reptiles, fish, they are not under your control. They are directly controlled by God. Go again and feed them with love. And they obeyed, they took the whole things with them and went to the riverside. And they were throwing in the hundreds and thousands of fish. They started jumping up to their neck. They were feeding with love, just like Maharaj-ji had said. And there was nothing left on this place. And they became overwhelmed with that scene. And finally they came to Maharaj-ji Then he said, you must understand what love is. That's all. Love is so powerful. That was the main. It's a very good teaching for we people, for everybody who knows that story. Maharaj-ji didn't do anything, just through this practical scene of feeding fish with love, before without love, and then with love. So much change. The same thing was refused when there was no love, and the same thing was accepted when there was love. So he explained love in that way.